Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's video. We're going to be taking a look at the 6 most fun loadouts to use on King of the Hill. Now these are like my personal favorites. There is no official list saying a loadout is more fun than the other loadout. All comes down to personal opinion, and these are my favorite ones to use. Now, all these loadouts can be used on pretty much every King of the Hill server except servers that don't allow the SPMG. And they're all fun loadouts to use if you're looking to pass some time or something. You're not too worried about making money or leveling up. I highly recommend using these loadouts. So let's go ahead and get right into this video. So the first loadout we'll be taking a look at is a fast-paced, high stamina, high speed loadout using an LMG. So for your clothing, you're going to use Specialist. For your perks, you're going to use Ammo, Machine Gunner, and Medic or Infatigable. Either one. I personally like to run Medic. And then for your actual weapons, you're going to use the LIM with the MK17 hollow sight. And then the handgun of your choice. I personally prefer the suppressed PO7 over everything else, so that's what I use. Now, the reason I find this loadout to be so much fun to use is because you have 1,000 rounds of 5.56. You have a decent amount of stamina, and you have a speed boost, so you can fight at a very fast pace compared to your usual Arma 3 combat, and you do not have to worry at all about spraying and praying. And you can easily play suppress a fire roll, or you can put your weapon on the higher firing rate, and it actually becomes a fairly deadly weapon. 5.56 on its own is definitely not the strongest bullet in the game, but because of the firing rate on this gun, it can be quite powerful if you're a good shot. LIM also has almost no recoil, so if you go prone and use your bipod, you really don't have to drag your mouse at all. Where you're aiming is where pretty much all your bullets are going to hit. I personally like to just roam around the AO, clearing builds. You can set up in a tower or a specific building if you like, but this loadout's designed to go hunt down enemies, so that's what I like to do with it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next loadout. Alright, the next loadout we'll be taking a look at is another LMG loadout, but unlike the LIM loadout, this loadout is not designed to be moving around very much. You want to find a specific area to be in, and you want to stay in that area. So, for your clothing, you are going to use Rifleman, the default clothing. For your perks, you are going to use Ammo, Machine Gunner, and then Medic or Indefatigable. It's up to you. I personally prefer Medic. And then for your actual weapons, you are going to use the SPMG with the MRCO sight and then the handgun of your choice. As you can see, I have very little stamina, and I don't exactly move fast. And the scope also does not like to stay stable. So you want to find a building where you can set up in a window or go prone and shoot through a doorway or something, so that way you can use your bipod. Because if you're constantly running around and moving, it's going to be very difficult to hit anything over 20 meters. Now, I recommend finding a building or tower to set up in. I like to find areas that have a view of a tower controlled by enemies, and you can pick off the people in the tower as they peek out windows or go up and down the stairs. Or you can also look for a enemy landing zone, a place where they regularly land their transport helicopters, because this gun is easily capable of shooting through pretty much every helicopter in the game, and in 50 rounds you can kill everyone in a helicopter, no problem at all. Keep a very close eye on your stamina, because if you get stuck in an alleyway or something and you have no stamina, you are a sitting duck and you can die extremely easily. That's another reason I recommend finding one specific area and just staying there, because getting around without dying is very, very difficult. The firing rate on this is much slower than the firing rate on the LIM loadout, but the 338 can usually one-shot your enemy, while his 5.56 usually takes 3 to 4 shots. So while having a slower firing rate, it still kills in just the same amount of time. Overall, great loadout to use, ton of fun if you use it properly. I mean, you can really use it however you want, but it's going to be a lot more difficult if you're trying to play this as a fast-paced combat style loadout. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next loadout. Alright, so for the third loadout, we're looking at another very fast-paced, combat-based loadout. Also, I am aware that I am saying loadout a lot through this video. So, for your clothing, you're going to run Specialist. For your perks, you're going to run Ammo, Marksman, and Indefatigable or Medic. I like to go with Indefatigable. And then for your weapons, you're going to use the MK1 EMR with the ARCO, MRCO, ERCO, or RCO. Any of these, it doesn't matter. RCO is my personal favorite. And then the handgun of your choice, PO7 Suppressed, is my personal favorite. You have 160 rounds of 7.62, which is on the MK1 is a fairly consistent one-shot kill. This weapon is efficient at ranges of all the way up to about 1,500 meters. With the scope, you can hit shots of about 1,000 meters. You got fully automatic and semi-automatic firing modes, and in fully automatic, if you play in third person, you can get some very fast-paced combat, especially clearing towers and things like that, or breaching buildings. This weapon's also capable of shooting through the walls on pretty much every building in the AO. So if you have someone behind a wall, and you know like specifically where they are, you can just unload a mag into that wall and it will usually kill them. So you don't have much armor, but because of your high amount of stamina and your 10% speed boost, you can cover a good amount of ground and usually avoid being shot fairly easily. So having low armor is not a huge deal unless you're pinned down and completely incapable of moving around. Now, I personally, just like the LIM loadout, like to move around the AO a lot while using this loadout. I don't stick in one specific area unless I am in a tower. And even then, I usually only clear the tower, stay for a couple of minutes, and then move on to another tower to clear. But if you like fast-paced combat and more, I guess, arcade-style PvP, this is a great loadout to use because it doesn't have as high recoil, and this weapon functions a lot more like assault rifles and other arcade-style video games. So, ton of fun to use, and one of my personal favorites. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the next loadout. Alright, the next loadout we're taking a look at is a very fast-paced combat loadout using a relatively weak weapon, but is a very fun weapon to use. So you're going to be running around the AO, you're going to be getting a lot of combat and having a lot of fun. So for your clothing, you are going to run Specialist. For your perks, you are going to run Ammo, you're going to run Medic, and you're going to run Indefatigable. And then for your actual weapons, you're going to use the Vermin with the RCO, or any scope of your choice. RCO is my personal favorite. And then for your handgun, you're going to use the suppressed ACP C2 or the suppressed 4.5 ACP. And once you're out of your safe zone, you can open your inventory, you take the suppressor off of the pistol, and you put it on the Vermin. So this allows you to have a suppressed Vermin and run the other 3 perks. Now, you have a huge amount of stamina, you have a 10% speed boost, and you regenerate your stamina twice as fast. So you're going to be covering a ton of ground using this loadout. The Vermin is a relatively weak weapon, has very low armor penetration, but because of its extremely high firing rate, you can fire a full 30 bullets in I think it's 1.8 seconds, and it only takes about 10 to kill an enemy with level 3 armor. So this weapon absolutely destroys enemies at close quarters. You can fight effectively at ranges of up to about 300 meters. I would not try anything over that. Now, the best way to use this loadout is to just run around the AO. You don't want to be focused on clearing buildings, you don't want to be focused on clearing towers or anything, you just want to run around the AO and find enemies. And when you do, you just want to try and kill them. It's a very fast-paced loadout to use, and it's just a ton of fun to use. I love this loadout. I don't think there's any loadout I enjoy more than this loadout. So this is definitely one of my favorites. And let's go ahead and take a look at our next loadout. Alright, the next loadout we're taking a look at is focused mainly on making things explode. This loadout is designed to take out light armor vehicles. You can take out heavy armored vehicles, but it can be a little difficult. So for your clothing, you're going to run Specialist. For your perks, you are going to run Ammo, Launcher, and Explosive. And then for your actual equipment, you're going to run an AK-12 with the scope of your choice. My personal favorite is the AMS. For your launcher, you're going to run an RPG-7, and then you can run the handgun of your choice. PO7 suppressed is my favorite. So with this loadout, you have 300 rounds, a 7.62, all capable of one-shotting enemies, and a weapon capable of effectively fighting at ranges of up to 1,000 meters, and a scope easily capable of fighting at that range. You have 4 RGO grenades, you have 4 smoke grenades, you have 4 rockets for your rocket launcher, you have 8 40mm high explosive grenades for the AK-12's grenade launcher, you have an explosive satchel, and then you have a PO7 to fall back on whenever you run out of ammo and everything else. So this loadout, like I said, is capable of killing really any light armor vehicle. You do not have much stamina, but you do have a 10% speed boost, so you can cover an okay amount of ground with the slight amount of stamina you do have. I highly recommend finding a building or a general area to sit in, though, especially a road on the outside of the AO, like right around this general area. Like on this map, Turkey, I'd set up probably in this compound right in here, because a lot of OP4 vehicles are going to be coming from this general direction and down this road. So I'd find a lot of combat sitting in that spot. But you can set up under towers too, because a lot of people will bring ground vehicles to the bottom of towers. So those are your 2 main spots you want to look for: busy roads and the bottom of towers. You can set up in other places, but being this loadout is designed to take out light armor vehicles, and you're going to find the most of them under towers, that's where you want to be. The AK-12 has fully automatic, a 2-round burst, and a semi-automatic firing modes. And whenever it comes to just killing normal infantry, this gun works perfectly. The only other gun I would choose over this is the MK1 EMR or the MK14, and those cannot mount grenade launchers, so the AK-12 is your best bet whenever using a loadout like this. I absolutely love this gun, love this loadout. It's a ton of fun to use, and you can make everything in sight explode, which is amazing. So let's go ahead and go on to the final loadout. The final loadout that we will be taking a look at is focused on hunting down light armor and heavy armored vehicles and destroying them. You don't have a launcher or anything. Your only weapon for destroying these vehicles is a satchel, which makes this loadout very interesting to use. For your clothing, you're going to run recon. For your perks, you are going to run indefatigable, explosive, and then really anything else of your choice. I usually run engineer. And then for the actual weapons, I like to use the Sting with the ACO SMG sight. And then for the handgun, any handgun of your choice, PO7 suppressed is my personal favorite. As you can see, you have a large amount of stamina, you have an explosive satchel, and you regenerate your stamina twice as fast. You also have a 20% speed boost. So on foot, you can cover a ton of ground. In a vehicle, you can cover a ton of ground. And your only goal in life while using this loadout is to kill enemy armor with nothing but a satchel. And then it's just any way you can think of. Just try and get kills using this satchel. And then, I mean, if you have to, you can use your Sting. But even then, if I find a bunch of infantry and I can sneak up on them and I can kill them all with a satchel, I'm going to do it. So really, it's not just armor. This whole loadout's focused on getting kills with nothing but a satchel. So it makes it a lot of fun. It's a very interesting loadout to use. And definitely have to say it's my second favorite. It goes right underneath the vermin. Oh, ton of fun to use. And I just absolutely love this loadout. So I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next one.